It's been a while since I've done two screenings back to back. And after having done it, I realized I may have been a little too nice to Wuthering Heights because this movie is way better. Crime 101, directed by Barry Layton, not Barry, Bart Layton, whose work I'm not familiar with, but it is written by Don Winslow, a character. It's based on a book by Don Winslow, who is an author I really, really like. Does some great stuff. Check him out. In this movie, we have a thriller heist film with an ensemble cast, and their stories are going to be interconnected, right? We have Chris Hemsworth, who plays a gentleman thief, if you will. He goes through meticulous planning, like he makes sure he always has an escape route ready. He gets rid of the car when he needs to. He never stays in the same location, living quarters for a long time. And most importantly, when he does his heist, it's a rule, nobody gets hurt. He does not like violence, right? And he also steals from people who he knows can take it. So like he will rob couriers, who he knows that their objects, their merchandise is insured. So as far as thieves go, I guess you could say he's a quote unquote good thief, if you will. Speaking of insured, Halle Berry's character Sharon works for such an insurance company. We have Mark Ruffalo, who plays a cop who has been chasing this thief for a while. Barry Keoghan, I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly. I apologize. But, this guy who starred in Saltburn. He plays a rival thief to Chris Hemsworth. And then we have Monica Barbero, who plays a love interest for Chris Hemsworth's character, Mike, right? So the movie starts off with a great heist showing us how good Mike is at his job and how well he plans these things out. And after he successfully does this first heist, we then move into the next heist, which is the big part of this movie where there's, the one that they can all walk away from, right? He's planning this big heist that is going to bring in all the other characters in the third act for a thrilling third act, which I'll get to later. But I'm going to just say off jump, I really like this movie. And I really like it because I liked what the theme that it was putting on display. Because at first, you have all these characters you see. I mean, so tongue tied. Mike steals from this courier. And then this courier is insured by Halle Berry's company, and he also calls the cops for which Mark Ruffalo works for. So at first you're like, okay, this is how these three are going to be connected. But after that, they kind of go their separate ways, and you just see them living their individual lives. Mark Ruffalo has a rough home life with a wife who's cheating, and Halle Berry's not getting a promotion, and Mike, he's much of a loner. He doesn't really have a social life. So at first, I was like, where is the movie going with all these characters? But then, as things start to develop, I started realizing something. Mike is the quote unquote criminal here, right? Like he does the bad things. He is the thief. But Mark Ruffalo works for a police department that is insanely corrupt, where they, plant guns on people and they literally say, we don't care about getting the right person. We care about our crime statistics. Halle Berry works for the sleaziest insurance company that doesn't only try to find ways to deny claims, but also hires women specifically for their looks in order to get new clients. So the movie does really make you think. It's like, who's the criminal here? The guy who robs people non-violently for things that they have insurance for? Or, these other organizations and entities that are literally screwing everyday people every day? But I'll get back to that. Let's talk about what I didn't like real quick. As far as my dislikes for this movie, there aren't many. And the biggest one is Chris Hemsworth. I am certain he does everything the script asks him to do. And it's not like he's a bad character. He's an unrelatable character. And the thing is, like, it's almost by design. He's so reserved, so private, so guarded, right? That he doesn't let anyone in. You never know what he's thinking. He doesn't say any words. Even when he starts dating his love interest Maya, played by Monica Barbero, she is trying to basically wrestle information out of him and everything he says is one word answers, one sentence answers, and never gives any context to anything. And it's kind of disappointing because, he is the one who kind of pursued her. So you thought that maybe he would open up more to her, but no, he's still very quiet, very reserved. And it gets to a point where it's like, okay, well, when heists happen, I'm not rooting for you. I'm rooting for the heist because I'm a fan of the heist, and maybe I dislike the people who are getting robbed or whatever, right? And it boils down to we're following him and quote unquote rooting for him only because he's the protagonist of this movie, not because we actually like him because we don't know anything about him. Oh, you know what? I thought of one more thing I disliked. The ultimate resolution. I dug the ending, but the ultimate resolution in the third act, when everything comes to a head, it wasn't as climactic as I thought it was going to be. Like, stuff builds, and it's worth the journey. But when it finally comes together and all these interconnected stories meet, it was, I guess, I don't know how else it could have gone, but actually watching it, I was like, oh, okay. That was a great way that this ended, but it didn't hit me in the gut like everything else in the movie did. So I thought this was going to be bigger. Now, what I did like, what this movie does well, it does really well. The heists and the tension specifically, not even just the heists. Like, oh my gosh, y'all, the atmosphere of this film. This is a true crime thriller. Like, I didn't laugh once. There is no offbeat comedy, no one-off jokes or anything happening here. If you laugh, it may be because um, Barry Keoghan's character is just wilding out for some reason. But this movie doesn't have a comedic bone in its body, which I dig. And I say all that to say, when things are starting to go down, especially in the third act, when Halle Berry's insurance company and the cops and the thieves all mesh together, bruh. Yo, there's this scene in a hotel. I'm not gonna spoil. I'm not gonna get into spoilers. I'm just gonna say the tension is so thick you can cut it with a knife. It got to a point. I'm sitting there watching and watching, and then a glass falls from a table and breaks, and I jump. Like, I almost have a heart attack. Like, I was like, "What was that?" so, the atmosphere, excellent, man. Similarly, the chase scenes. This movie has two excellent chase scenes, like in cars. The first one happens during our first the first heist, then the first scene of the movie. Even though it's not really a chase, it's more of an escape, but still, it was just great to watch. Wide angles on everything. You never miss any action in this movie. Great job with the cinematography. And it was just fun. It was sleek. It was cool. Each one of these chase scenes, you're like, yo, man, what's about, that's what keeps going in your head. What is about to happen? Like, how is this going to end for you? Although, as I think of it, movies like this and like Baby Driver make me think, don't major cities have cameras? Like, how are people not getting caught more often? Like, maybe it's because, I live in the district where there are cameras like everywhere. Like, I feel like these people should have been caught like a long time ago, but, I digress. The car scenes were thrilling. Putting on a chasing a car is actually not as easy as one might think, but this movie does it in a way to, like Baby Driver, like I just said, or this movie even references Bullet with Steve McQueen. Like, they make it so the car is the thing, or the chase is the thing. It's really, really done well, man. I could harp on for longer, but I've been talking for long enough. All you need to know is this movie's atmosphere, its tone, its direction, its cinematography, all top notch. Ultimate climax notwithstanding, I thought it was a great build up to a great resolution. Like, I don't think this was a slow burn, but this is how slow burns are supposed to work. If I'm patiently waiting, I should be rewarded with something good in the end. Every actor does their job well, and the actors do what they need to do to get you invested. Okay. Even if you're not invested in them, you are invested in the story. All right. So this one, definitely, I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate you. And until next time.